The woman arrived in the city late in the afternoon. She had traveled a long way from Japan for an important business meeting and wanted to stay somewhere comfortable and quiet. She was well-dressed and carried herself with calm confidence. Her name was Aiko, and she was successful in her field. She believed her visit would be smooth, just like many others she had made around the world. But this time, things were different. Aiko stepped into the hotel lobby. The place looked grand and old-fashioned, with marble floors and shiny chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. She hoped to find a peaceful room where she could rest before her busy schedule. The hotel was popular among wealthy travelers and business people, and she expected nothing less than polite treatment. However, as soon as she approached the reception desk, she noticed the atmosphere change. The young man behind the desk looked at her, but his smile did not reach his eyes. He asked for her reservation details, but when she handed over her confirmation, his face tightened. Without much explanation, he said the hotel was fully booked. Aiko knew from the website and her reservation that was not true, but she stayed, calm and polite. She asked again if there was a room available. The man's tone became colder, and he told her there were no vacancies. Aiko looked around the lobby, noticing the other guests who were mostly white and middle-aged. They received friendly greetings from the staff, but she was treated differently. It was as if she was invisible or unwanted. Not willing to give up, Aiko politely insisted on speaking to the manager. The receptionist hesitated, but then called a man from the back office. The manager appeared to be in his late 50s, dressed in a sharp suit. When he saw Aiko, his expression changed subtly, but he did not smile or welcome her. She introduced herself and explained her reservation. The manager glanced at the computer screen, then looked back at her. Without a clear reason, he said, "I'm sorry, but we cannot accommodate you tonight." Aiko's heart sank. She had traveled so far, and now she was being refused a room. She asked if there was a problem or if she had done something wrong. The manager avoided eye contact and replied, "No, it's just the hotel's policy." She pressed him to explain, but he remained silent. It was clear that the answer was hidden behind unspoken reasons. Aiko felt a mix of emotions, confusion, sadness, and anger, but she kept her voice steady. She thanked him and stepped away, knowing she needed to find another place to stay. Yet deep inside, she also felt something stronger growing, a determination not to let this unfair treatment go unanswered. Outside, the city lights were beginning to shine, but Aiko's mind was clouded. She had faced difficult situations before, but never such open rejection. She thought about the people she had met in the lobby, the smiles they received, and how differently she was treated. The unfairness of it all hit her hard. She decided to call her assistant back in Japan. As she waited for the call to connect, she looked up at the hotel's sign. The letters glowed softly in the night. This place, which should have welcomed travelers from all over the world, had closed its doors to her just because of who she was. Her assistant answered, and Aiko told her what had happened. The assistant was shocked and asked if she wanted help finding another hotel. Aiko said yes, but she also shared a secret thought. She would find a way to change what had happened here. After the call ended, Aiko walked down the street, her steps steady despite the cold feeling in her chest. She passed by other hotels and cafes filled with happy people, but her mind was on the injustice she had just experienced. She thought about all the people who might have been treated the same way, before feeling unwanted because of their race or nationality. That night, she stayed in a small, less expensive hotel nearby. It was not what she had planned, but she made the best of it. While lying on the bed, she stared at the ceiling and made a promise to herself. She would not let this moment define her trip. Instead, she would turn it into something bigger, a chance to stand up against discrimination and show that respect and kindness must be for everyone. As she closed her eyes, she remembered stories she had heard about others who faced unfair treatment but fought back with courage. She wanted to be one of those people. Tomorrow would be a new day, and she was ready to face it with strength. The next morning, Aiko woke up early and felt a calm energy inside her. She had a busy day ahead, but she also had a plan growing in her mind. She dressed carefully and went out to prepare for her meetings, but part of her was already thinking about how to respond to the hotel's rejection. Though the hurt was still there, Aiko's spirit was not broken. She believed that change could happen, and she was determined to be part of that change. The city outside bustled with life, and she was ready to face whatever came next with dignity and courage. The morning sun filled Aiko's small hotel room with soft light as she sat quietly at the table, sipping her tea. Though she had been treated unfairly the night before, she did not let bitterness fill her heart. Instead, she thought carefully about what she could do next. She was not just any traveler. She was someone with experience, connections, and determination. Aiko knew that fighting against discrimination was never easy. Many people had told stories of being treated unfairly because of how they looked or where they came from. But she also believed that change was possible when people took action. So, she started making calls. First, she reached out to some trusted friends and business partners back home. She told them what had happened at the hotel, how she had been refused a room without a real reason. Her friends were shocked and upset to hear the story. They asked if she wanted them to help, and Aiko smiled quietly. She did want help, but not just to find another hotel. She wanted to send a clear message that such behavior was not acceptable. She wanted to show that kindness and respect should be for everyone, no matter where they came from. Next, Aiko began reaching out to some local business contacts she had met during her earlier visits to the city. She explained her situation honestly without anger but with clear purpose. She asked for advice on what she could do to make sure something like this would not happen again, either to herself or others. Many people listened carefully and shared their own stories. Some told her that the hotel had a history of treating people unfairly. Others said it was well known that the management had strong opinions about who should be allowed to stay there. Aiko's heart grew heavier with each story, but it also filled with more determination. She understood that the problem was bigger than just one night or one hotel. It was about how some people allowed prejudice to control their decisions, even in places where respect and service should come first. Aiko wanted to find a way to change this. While she talked to people, she also began researching the hotel's business. She wanted to understand who owned it, how it was run, and if there was a way to make a difference. She discovered that the hotel was part of a larger company, owned by a small group of investors. Some of these investors were open to new ideas and had no problem with welcoming guests from all backgrounds. Others, however, held on to old beliefs and traditions that excluded many people. Aiko knew she had to be careful. This was not just about money or business. It was about respect, dignity, and fairness. She began writing down her plan, a way to show the community and the company that everyone deserved kindness, and that the hotel could be better if it opened its doors to all. Her days became busy with meetings and phone calls. She met with lawyers and business advisors who helped her understand how to make her plan work. They talked about buying shares in the hotel's company or forming a group of investors who shared her values. Aiko listened carefully and asked many questions. She wanted to be sure she was making the right choices. At the same time, she did not forget the importance of the story itself. She wrote letters and emails to newspapers and business groups, sharing her experience in a way that was honest but calm. She did not want to attack the hotel or its staff personally. Instead, she wanted to raise awareness about how discrimination could harm not only people but also businesses and communities. Her messages were clear. Respect should be the foundation of every service, and people from all backgrounds deserved equal treatment. She hoped that her words would inspire others to think differently, to challenge old habits, and to build a better future. As the days passed, Aiko felt a new sense of hope. People began to listen. Some local business leaders contacted her, offering support and even inviting her to speak at meetings about fairness and equality. Aiko accepted these invitations, knowing that sharing her story could help others who faced similar challenges. But not everyone was happy. Some people who had been part of the hotel's old ways were resistant. They ignored her calls or spoke badly about her behind her back. Aiko expected this. She understood that change often makes people uncomfortable, especially when it challenges long-held beliefs. Still, she stayed strong. She believed that standing up for what was right was more important than avoiding conflict. She kept working on her plan, talking to more investors and gathering support. One afternoon, as she sat in a quiet cafe, she received a message that made her heart race. One of the hotel's largest investors was interested in meeting her. This person was known for being open-minded and willing to consider new ideas. Aiko knew this could be a turning point. She prepared carefully for the meeting, practicing what she would say and how she would explain her vision. She wanted to show that she was not only a businesswoman but also someone who cared deeply about fairness and respect. The meeting went better than she expected. The investor listened to her story and her plan. They talked about how the hotel could improve its reputation and attract more guests by embracing diversity and inclusion. The investor agreed that the old way of thinking was hurting the hotel's future. After the meeting, Aiko felt encouraged. She was not alone anymore. With allies and supporters, she was beginning to turn her painful experience into a powerful opportunity for change. That evening, as she walked back to her small hotel room, Aiko looked up at the night sky. The stars seemed brighter than before. She thought about the journey ahead, the challenges and the victories yet to come. Even though the memory of the hotel's rejection still stung, she no longer felt powerless. Instead, she felt ready to face whatever obstacles lay ahead with courage, grace, and hope. She knew this was just the beginning of a bigger story. A story about standing up against unfairness and building a world where everyone could be treated with kindness no matter where they came from. And Aiko was determined to be a part of that story, every step of the way. Aiko felt a quiet excitement as she walked into the meeting room on that important day. She knew this meeting could change everything. The investor she was about to meet was someone who could help her make her plan real. She had prepared carefully, practicing her words and thinking about every question they might ask. The room was bright and modern, with large windows that showed the city outside. The investor, a kind-looking woman named Mrs. Williams, greeted Aiko with a warm smile. They sat down, and Aiko began to explain everything: how she had been refused a room at the hotel because of her nationality, how she believed the hotel needed a new way of thinking, and how she wanted to help the business grow by making it welcoming to everyone. Mrs. Williams listened closely, nodding as Aiko spoke. She asked questions about the hotel's current ownership, the company's financial health, and the possible ways to bring positive change. Aiko answered honestly and clearly, showing her knowledge and passion. After a long conversation, Mrs. Williams smiled and said, "I believe in what you want to do, Aiko. This hotel needs someone who can lead with kindness and respect. I want to help you." Aiko felt a rush of hope. For the first time since the hotel had turned her away, she saw a real chance to make a difference. Together, they began to plan how to approach the other investors and start buying shares of the hotel company. This was the beginning of a new journey for Aiko, one that would take hard work and patience. Over the next few weeks, Aiko met with many people, business advisors, lawyers, and potential investors. She worked long hours, studying the hotel's finances and learning how to make smart decisions about buying ownership. Sometimes the work was tiring, but she never lost sight of her goal. Meanwhile, news about her plans slowly spread. Some people were surprised that a traveler could turn the tables on a business so quickly. Others were curious and wanted to see what would happen next. Aiko's story began to inspire conversations about fairness and respect in the city. But it was not all easy. Some investors did not want to sell their shares, and some even tried to discourage her. They said she did not understand the local market or that she should focus on her own business instead. Aiko ignored these words. She knew that change was never simple, especially when old habits were strong. She kept working, talking to more people and sharing her vision. She showed them how welcoming the hotel could become if everyone was treated fairly. Slowly, she started to buy shares piece by piece until she had enough to have a say in the company's decisions. One day, Aiko received a call from Mrs. Williams. "We have enough shares now," she said. "You are officially part of the hotel's leadership." Aiko felt proud but also aware of the responsibility she had taken on. She was not just a guest anymore. She was now one of the owners. This gave her the power to change things from the inside. The first meeting with the hotel's board was tense. The room was filled with people who had been running the hotel for many years. Some looked surprised to see Aiko there. Others did not hide their displeasure. But Aiko stayed calm and respectful. She listened carefully to their ideas and shared her own vision for a better future. She spoke about respect, kindness, and the importance of welcoming all guests, no matter where they came from. She reminded them that the hotel's success depended on its reputation and the happiness of its visitors. Some board members nodded quietly, others were still unsure. Over time, Aiko worked hard to build trust and cooperation. She introduced new training programs for staff to help them understand diversity and inclusion. She encouraged the hotel to celebrate different cultures and welcome visitors from around the world. Slowly but surely, the hotel began to change. The staff became friendlier and more open. The hotel started hosting events that brought the community together, showing that everyone was welcome. Guests from many countries praised the new atmosphere and service. Aiko visited the hotel often, watching the changes with a proud smile. She remembered how it had felt to be turned away and refused, and she was determined that no one else would face that experience again. One afternoon, she walked through the lobby and saw a group of young employees from different backgrounds laughing and working together. She felt a deep satisfaction knowing that her efforts were making a real difference. But Aiko also knew that the journey was not over. Changing people's hearts and minds took time, and there would always be challenges ahead. Still, she believed that kindness and respect could win over fear and prejudice. Her story became well known beyond the city. Newspapers wrote about the woman who had turned rejection into opportunity. She was invited to speak at conferences about fairness and business leadership. Aiko used these chances to remind people that everyone deserves respect, and that businesses can succeed when they open their doors to all. As the hotel's new owner and leader, Aiko felt a deep sense of purpose. She was proud not just of the hotel's success, but of the example it set for the world. She hoped that her story would inspire others to stand up for what was right and to believe in the power of change. One evening, as she stood by the hotel's entrance, Aiko looked up at the shining lights and felt grateful. What had started as a painful rejection had become a journey of hope and transformation. She had shown that courage, kindness, and determination could change even the hardest situations. And she knew that her journey was just beginning. There were many more doors to open and many more people to help. But with each step, Aiko was ready to face the future with a heart full of hope and a mind full of dreams. After becoming part of the hotel's leadership, Aiko faced many challenges, but she was ready. She knew that changing the hotel's old ways would take time and patience. Some people were happy to see new ideas, but others resisted. Still, Aiko never gave up. One of her first goals was to improve how the hotel's staff treated guests. She believed that respect and kindness should come from everyone who worked there. She asked the hotel's managers to organize special training sessions about understanding different cultures and being welcoming to all visitors. Many employees joined these sessions with curiosity, some with hesitation. But Aiko was patient and explained why it mattered. She often visited the hotel, walking through the halls and speaking to the staff. She listened to their stories and answered their questions. Slowly, the hotel began to feel warmer and friendlier. The employees started greeting guests with genuine smiles, and the atmosphere changed from cold and distant to welcoming and comfortable. Aiko also wanted the hotel to show that it was proud of diversity. She planned events where people from different countries could share their food, music, and traditions. The hotel held cultural nights that brought guests and local residents together. People laughed, danced, and learned about each other. These events helped break down walls of misunderstanding and built new friendships. At the same time, Aiko worked to repair the hotel's reputation. Before, many travelers had heard about the hotel's unfair treatment and avoided it. Now, with new policies and a more open attitude, the hotel slowly attracted visitors from around the world. Positive reviews began to appear online, praising the hotel's welcoming staff and comfortable rooms. But Aiko did not forget the past. She believed that the hotel needed to face its mistakes honestly. So she organized a special meeting with the board and the hotel's staff. She spoke openly about the incident that had started her journey, the night she was refused a room. She explained why it was wrong and how it had hurt not only her, but the hotel's image as well. Some people in the room looked surprised. Others were silent. Aiko's words made it clear that discrimination had no place in their business. She invited everyone to work together to make sure such things would never happen again. Her honesty inspired many. Some staff members who had once been distant began to speak up about their own experiences and feelings. It was the start of a new chapter, where the hotel became a place of learning and growth, not just a place to stay. Aiko also made sure that the hotel supported its employees better. She introduced fair hiring practices and created opportunities for staff from all backgrounds to grow in their careers. She wanted the hotel to be a place where everyone felt respected and valued. The changes were not always easy. Some old managers left because they did not agree with the new direction, but many new people joined, excited to be part of a hotel that stood for respect and kindness. Guests noticed the difference too. Families, business travelers, and tourists from many countries returned feeling safe and welcome. The hotel's success grew, proving that kindness and respect could also be good for business. One day a reporter asked Aiko how she felt about the changes she had made. She smiled and said, "It is not just about the hotel. It is about showing that every person deserves respect no matter where they come from. When we open our hearts and minds, we can create better places and better lives." Her story inspired many people beyond the hotel. Schools invited her to speak about fairness and courage. Other businesses reached out for advice on how to create welcoming environments. Aiko became a symbol of hope and change. Still, Aiko remained humble. She knew there was always more to do. She continued to visit the hotel every day, talking with staff and guests. She listened, learned, and led with kindness. One evening, as she walked through the hotel's lobby, she noticed a young girl standing quietly by the front desk. The girl looked nervous but hopeful. Aiko smiled and bent down to speak with her. The girl said she wanted to work at the hotel someday. Aiko felt a warm feeling inside. This was why she had started her journey, to create a place where dreams could grow and where everyone could belong. She promised the girl that the hotel would be a place where she could succeed, and Aiko knew that promise was true because she had helped build a new hotel, one that stood for respect, kindness, and hope. As she looked around the hotel filled with happy guests and friendly staff, Aiko felt proud. What had started as a painful rejection had grown into a powerful story of change. She had turned a bad experience into a chance to make the world better, one step at a time. The days turned into months and the hotel continued to grow under Aiko's leadership. What once was a place known for turning people away unfairly had now become one of the most loved hotels in the city. Guests came from different countries and backgrounds, and many of them returned again and again because they felt welcomed, respected, and comfortable. Aiko walked through the hotel every morning, checking in with staff and smiling at the guests. She knew most of her employees by name. She didn't just lead from her office. She led by being present, by listening, and by showing every person that they mattered. The staff admired her deeply, and many said she was not only a great businesswoman, but also someone with a kind heart. One morning, as Aiko was having tea in the hotel cafe, an elderly man walked in. He looked around, then spotted her and slowly walked up to her table. "Excuse me," he said politely. "Are you Miss Aiko?" "Yes, I am," she replied, standing up and offering him a seat. "I used to work for the hotel's original owner many years ago," the man said. "I've heard about all the changes you made. I just wanted to see it with my own eyes." Aiko smiled and nodded. "I'm happy you came. A lot has changed, but our doors are now open to everyone." The man looked around the hotel with a thoughtful expression. "It's better now," he said softly. "Much better." That short conversation stayed in Aiko's heart. It reminded her that even people from the past could see the value of growth and kindness. And sometimes the most powerful change is not loud or dramatic. It's quiet and lasting. A few weeks later, the hotel hosted a special celebration. It had been 1 full year since Aiko became one of its owners. The staff wanted to thank her, so they planned a surprise event in the ballroom. There were flowers, music, and even a large cake with the words, "Thank you, Miss Aiko, for bringing light." Aiko was touched. She hadn't expected anything like this. She stood in front of the staff and guests, her eyes filled with emotion. "I never planned to become the owner of this hotel," she began. "All I wanted that night was a place to sleep. But when I was turned away, I realized something bigger. I realized that change only happens when we stand up, even when it's hard. Today, I'm not standing here alone. This hotel is now a place where everyone is welcome, and that's because of all of you." The crowd applauded warmly. Many staff members had tears in their eyes, especially those who had once felt invisible in their previous jobs. Aiko had not only changed the hotel, she had changed their lives. Later that evening, as the party ended and the lights dimmed, Aiko stayed behind in the empty ballroom. She looked around the quiet room, remembering how everything had started. Just 1 year ago, she had stood outside the hotel doors, tired and rejected. Now she stood inside as someone who had helped create something better. She thought about her family back in Japan. They had always taught her to treat others with dignity and to never stop trying to do good, even in the face of difficulty. She knew they would be proud of her. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a message from a business group in another city. They wanted her to help advise a hotel chain that was going through similar problems. Aiko smiled. It seemed her journey was not finished. People were starting to notice that fairness and success could go hand in hand. She accepted the invitation and began making plans to visit that city. She would meet new teams, hear their stories, and share what she had learned. Her goal was not to take over more hotels, but to share her experience and encourage others to lead with heart. Before leaving, she spent one last morning walking through her hotel. She greeted the kitchen staff, complimented the cleaners, and thanked the receptionists. She told them, "While I'm away, this place is in your hands. Keep making it beautiful with your kindness." They promised they would. As she packed her things and stepped into the waiting car, Aiko took one last look at the hotel's front doors, the same doors that had once closed in her face. Now they stood wide open, welcoming everyone who entered. It was more than a hotel now. It was a symbol of change, of courage, and of how one person's decision could create a ripple of hope. The driver asked her, "Miss Aiko, are you nervous about starting again in another city?" She smiled gently and replied, "Not at all. Every new place is a chance to plant seeds of kindness. That's how we grow a better world." As the car drove away, the hotel behind her shone in the morning sun. The journey that had started with pain had become a mission, and Aiko, with her quiet strength, continued to walk that path, one step at a time, one heart at a time. And in the hearts of those she touched, her story would be remembered, not as a story of wealth or business, but as a story of kindness winning and respect standing tall.